Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. This lesson started off, I was looking at the lesson I did previously going into the Idumeans, how they have not been exterminated, they're still around, and part of that was going into the Hasmonean dynasty and the kings that ruled in Judea during the time of Yahushua when he was on the scene, around, the first century AD and before, leading up to that point. So this is an article from Wikipedia going into Antipater the Idumean, who was, I believe, the grandfather to Herod the Great. So I'm sorry, the father of Herod the Great. This says it right here in the thing. So Antipater won the Idumean around 113 or 114 BCE to 43 BCE, was the founder of the Herodian dynasty, and I believe I said Hasmonean, but I meant Herodian, and the father of Herod the Great. According to Josephus, he was the son of Antipas and had formerly held that name, a native of Idumea, a region southeast of Judah, in which the Edomites settled during the classical period. So this is Idumea is the Greek name of saying Edom, and that's where Mount Seir was. This is where Esau dwelt. This is their land. So Antipater the Idumean, he is an Edomite. He is a descendant of Esau, Jacob's twin brother. Antipater became a powerful official under the later Hasmonean kings and subsequently became a client of Roman general Pompey when Pompey conquered Judah in the name of the Roman Republic. So pretty much how Antipater got in there was through John Hyrcanus. I believe it was Antipas. They basically got in with the priesthood at that time, then intermarried, and then rose up in the ranks, and then Herod the Great, and through them, they pretty much they murdered and killed everybody that was involved with them, everybody that was of the actual king's lineage, to where he became king. And you can read about Herod, but it's showing these Edomites. And this lesson isn't so much focusing on the Edomites, but just giving a little background before I get into the full lesson, because I was just reading this article and it led up to this lesson. So after, it gives its name, all that kind of stuff. After Julius Caesar defeated Pompey at the Battle of Pharsalus, Antipater sided with Caesar during the Roman Civil War. So this guy's just switching sides, side switcher. Whoever's winning, I'm joining with them. But hey, this is pretty much I'd say Edomite behavior. Whatever to slither around and get ahead. It says after Julius Caesar defeated Pompey at the Battle of Pharsalus, Antipater sided with Caesar during the Roman Civil War. During Caesar's Egyptian campaign, Antipater joined Mithridates of Pergamon's army, marching to rescue Caesar in Alexandria. Caesar made him chief minister of Judea, as Judah became known to the Romans with the right to collect taxes. So, hey, he got in good with Caesar, and Caesar put him in a high place of power. Eventually, Caesar made Antipater's son Phasaelus and Herod the governors of Jerusalem and Galilee, respectively. After the assassination of Caesar, Antipater was forced to side with the liberators against the Caesarians. The pro-Roman politics of Antipater led to his increasing unpopularity among the devout, non-Hellenized Jews. So, and I'm going to finish reading that. He He died by poison. The diplomacy and artful politics of Antipater, as well as the insinuation into Hasmonean court, paved the way for the rise of his son Herod the Great, who used his position to marry the Hasmonean princess Mariamna under or endear himself to Rome and become king of Judea under Roman influence. So this is background. This guy like wormed his way around and got into high places. His son married into, or they got in with the Hasmoneans, rose up in the ranks in them, and then married high-ranking officials. And then they rose to power. They got into the power seat through deceit. But here, I'm going to focus on this. This is what the main, this is what the lesson is really focusing on. The pro-Roman politics of Antipater led to his increasing popularity among the devout, non-Hellenized Jews. So the pro-Roman politics, he's pro-Roman, and you have devout Jews, devout Israelites, because Jews, that's just short for Judah. And the kingdom of Judah was more than just Judah. It was Judah, Levi, Benjamin, and a scattering of the other tribes. There were very small numbers of the other tribes, but primarily those three tribes. And it just became, shortened to the Jews. And now everybody thinks, one tribe when you think of the Jews, but it's actually the Israelites that consist of 12 tribes. So, and non-Hellenized, meaning that these Israelites, these Jews, stuck to the customs of their forefathers, meaning they were resisting the influence, which Hellenized means to be Greek. They were resisting the Greek influence and resisting the Roman influence, which it goes back to the Maccabees. So you have in the Apocrypha, first and second Maccabees, going into, the acts of the Maccabees and what led to, the point in time that this is speaking of. So from here, I went to, I clicked on that word for Hellenized, and it led me to another, it led me to Hellenization. So Hellenization is the adoption of Greek culture, religion, language, and identity by non-Greeks. In the ancient period, colonization often led to the Hellenization of indigenous peoples. In the Hellenistic period, many of the territories which were conquered by Alexander the Great were Hellenized. Now, if you know about Alexander the Great, and he conquered all the known world at that time. And Hellenization, it just means, that's just the Greek way of saying Greek. So they were made into Greeks. They were following the customs. They adopted the Greek culture, which it says is Hellenization is the adoption of Greek culture. So going back to this article, the non-Hellenized Jews, so they did not adopt the Greek culture. They were sticking to the Israelite culture. So, matter of fact, let me go to this real quick because it mentioned. Let me read that again. It says the Hellenization. Hellenization is the adoption of Greek culture, religion, language, and identity by non-Greeks. In the ancient period, colonization often led to the Hellenization of indigenous peoples. In the Hellenistic period, many of the territories which were conquered by Alexander the Great were Hellenized. So this is in the scriptures. So let me go to this. This is First Maccabees, and I'll start at verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, which when you can read about in I believe in the additions to Esther, it says that the Macedonians were Edomites who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. So this is Alexander the Great. He conquered the world at the time. So back to the article, going to the Hellenization. This is what it is. They were following the customs, the religions, all the things of the Greeks. And I'm going to just go down to the regions because it shows you the different regions. This is kind of interesting, but I'm going to go down here to Judea. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read that one for later. So the Hellenistic, Seleucid, and Ptolemaic kingdoms that formed after Alexander's death were particularly relevant to the history of Judaism. So let's go back to that. Let's go back to the First Maccabees because it speaks of this. So First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 5, and after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander parted his kingdom amongst his four generals, his top generals, while he had more. He had more than these four generals, but this is the ones that he parted them amongst. So wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bare rule, every one in his place. And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. So just going from that, Lord willing, I'll come back to that. But these two here, these Seleucid and Ptolemaic kingdoms, those were the two main ones. While there were two more, but these are the two main ones that were that you'll hear about, especially when reading the Maccabees. It says the Hellenistic, Seleucid, and Ptolemaic kingdoms that formed after Alexander's death were particularly relevant to the history of Judaism. Located between the two kingdoms, Judea experienced long periods of warfare and instability. Judea fell under Seleucid control in 198 BC. By the time Antiochus IV Epiphanes became king of Judea in 175 BC, Jerusalem was already somewhat Hellenized. So even that, let me see here. Even that's mentioned in the in here. So right here, First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 10, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. So this is the history. The scriptures are saying this, and the history lines up with this. And I'm gonna read verse 11. And in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. And they had men rise up that were saying, since we left the heathen, let's go join up with them. Let's join up with the heathen because things were better since we joined with the heathen. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. So they got the king. They joined up with the king. They said you could do as we do. That's cool. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. So they built a gymnasium. They were exercising naked. They were doing everything that the Greeks did. They started following the customs of the Greeks, and this is just starting out. Because at this point in time, at first, it wasn't forced upon them. Eventually, they were forced to become Hellenized. Or the Israelites, the Jews at this time, were forced to become Hellenized at one point. But in the beginning, it wasn't forced upon them. Verse 15, and made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief. So they made themselves uncircumcised. They made themselves like unto the heathen. They left off from following the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You even had some people, they sewing back their foreskin. They're not circumcised their children anymore. They're following the customs of the heathen. They're eating pork. They're no longer following after the God of Israel, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So back to the article. So Judea fell under Seleucid control in 198 BC. By the time Antiochus, that's the sixth. Antiochus the sixth, that's the fourth. Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes became king of Judea in 175 BC. Jerusalem was already somewhat Hellenized. In 170 BC, both claimants to the high priesthood, Jason and Menelaus, were Greek names, showing you how far, how far the reaches of Hellenization that had an effect, how much of an effect that it had on the Israelites, that even the priesthood was starting to have Greek names. And you can read about these high priests in Second Maccabees. Jason had established institutions of Greek education, and in later years, Jewish culture started to be suppressed, including forbidding circumcision and observance of Sabbath. So let's even get that, because here a little, there a little. We're reading an article, we're lining it up with the scriptures, and going back and forth. This is Second Maccabees, and I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, and not to live after the laws of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So this man of Athens, he could have been an Israelite, but most likely was an Israelite. He sent because they're going to send your own people. The same thing today. When these Edomites, they show people, they send these rappers, they make these stupid things like, what is that? I remember the things when it comes to voting. They always send Jake, and they make like a booty shaking video. They make it catered to Jake, and it's a Jake trying to get them to go vote or do whatever it is that Esau Edom wants them to do. So, and you can read about that also. I think it's in chapter 8, how the old man, they wanted this old man Eleazar to eat pork, or to pretend like he was eating pork, to compel other Israelites to go off and eat pork. But continuing on, this is not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, and not to live after the laws of God, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius. So they wanted, they're taking over. They want to call the most holy place in all the world. They call it by a false god. And that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. So all these things that you're seeing, imagine growing up, like here, it's hard to imagine because we're waking up to being Israelites. We're waking up to who we truly are. So we're waking up and we're seeing all these idols around you. But at that time, you're in the Holy Land. You're in your homeland. You're there. You're where you grew up. This is Yahweh Bashem Yahushai's land. This is his temple. And you're seeing it being taken over slowly by these heathen. So it's going to be grievous. Imagine your neighborhood. You grew up in a nice neighborhood, and now you're seeing it's getting run down. You're seeing all kinds of degenerates running around now. You have to imagine these things. Because now it's kind of hard to imagine. Now it's already been taken over. Now we're waking up to the point. We're waking up in this point, and it's like, oh shit, like I'm really far away from home. Like imagine if our forefathers were to see what's going on today. Hey, this is a terrible thing. Second Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 3, the coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. So they had temple prostitutes. They were defiling the temple by having harlots in there, committing whoredom. They were having a riot. In other words, they were partying in there. They became a nightclub. The same thing with these churches today. Just dancing and all this kind of stuff. It's a whorehouse. And had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. So it's completely, this place is, how about Shem Shai allowed this to happen? He brought in evil upon this place. And this is verse 6, which was the point. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So it became not lawful. It became, you can't say you're a Jew. You can't say you're an Israelite. You can't keep the customs. You can't keep the fast. You can't do none of that. You got to be a Greek. Do what we do. And I'm going to jump down. Matter of fact, I'm going to keep reading. And in the day of the king's birth, every month, they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the fast of Bacchus was kept, which a Bacchus is a party, all about, that's a party, drinking and reveling god, was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy. So they were compelled. Come on, imagine what they have in like Brazil and these other places like Carnival, or what's the shit they do in New Orleans? Whatever it is, I can't remember. Verse 8, moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. So you're not going to be able to keep your own sacrifice. You're not going to be able to do your own thing anymore. Israelites, we're all going to be one people. Matter of fact, I think I know it's in the Maccabees, but I can't remember exactly. Oh, Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 41. It says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed to the commandment of the king. So we're all just going to be one people. We're all just Greeks and all this kind of stuff. And we're going to leave our own homeland laws and forget that. We're Greeks now. We're Hellenized. Just putting it shortly. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. So, many of the Israelites consented on this. Many of the Israelites were willing to be Hellenized. They were down with this. But you had others that weren't. Verse 9, and Second Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 9, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. So again, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. So if you didn't conform to this, you're gonna be put to death. The same thing in the coming times. If you don't get that MOTB, you're going to be put to death. It's going to be a death sentence for you if you don't have that MOTB. But if you do take that MOTB, it's going to be a death sentence for you. If you're here in Babylon the Great and you get that MOTB, that mark, that that RFID C-hip that's going to allow you to participate in this NWO, you were going to be put to death either way. If you're here in Babylon the Great, you're going to be destroyed by the thermonuclear fire, and there is no repentance from it. If you're an Israelite, you're going to come back in the kingdom, but there is no, you can't take it out. You can't repent from that. 2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 9, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man might have seen the present misery. So for sake of time, I continue reading in the chapter, but hey, I'm gonna keep it moving for the time's sake. So the next thing I had lined up was the Greek. You know, it's going into Hellenization, but when you type in, you know, I tried to type in Helen in the blue letter, and nothing comes up. But if you type in Greek, one of the words that comes up is Helen, which is going for Hellenization. So the Strong's, this is a G1672 Helen, and this is from the Outline of Biblical Usage, and I'm gonna read first two. A Greek either by nationality, whether a native of the mainland or of the Greek islands or colonies. Number two, in a wider sense, the name embraces all nations, not Jews, that made the language, customs, and learning of the Greeks their own. The primary reference is to a difference of religion and worship. So you see the Israelites were consented to this. You see the Israelites were forced to take on the religion, to take on Hellenization. So when you see Greek, that don't always mean, oh, they're a Greek, they were Greeks. No, a lot of times if it says they're believers, it says, you know, other things, you know, similar to being believers and whatnot. It's speaking of the Israelites who conformed to the Greek fashions, you know, making the language, the customs, all that stuff, all the way to the point where they forgot who they were. You know, you had some Israelites, say Paul, for example, hey, he could speak Greek, he could speak Latin, you know, but he was not he was a Roman citizen, but he was from the tribe of Benjamin. He was an Israelite. You know, you had many Greeks around, many Greek-speaking Israelites. Many Israelites, Timothy's father, for example, it says he was a Greek, but guess what? He's an Israelite that he conformed to the Greek ways. And even here, this is this is John chapter 7 and verse 35. Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Matter of fact, let me read the whole thing. This is John chapter 7 and verse 34. Ye shall seek me and shall not find me, and where I am, thither ye cannot come. So this is Yahushua. He's getting ready to leave. He's ready to go. He's getting ready to go back to the heavens. Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will ye go? Whither will he go? So where is he going to go? That we shall not find him. Where is he going to go that we're not going to be able to find him? And Yahushua speaking over the heads of these Jews. Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? So let's go here. This is right here. To the dispersed, the G1290 diaspora. And here says diaspora, that hides the Strong's info. It says dispersion, an Israelite resident in Gentile countries, scattered abroad. So here, a scattering, dispersion of Israelites dispersed amongst foreign nations. So, and then it says of the Christians scattered abroad among the Gentiles, which it's the same thing. It's not speaking, the Christians back then aren't the same thing as the Christians now. The Christians now, they've hijacked this and it just made it into something that it's not. So those believers back then were Israelites. Those that believed on Yahushua are Israelites. Those that believe in Yahushua now are Israelites. So what they're asking is, when's he going to go amongst the dispersed? Because that's part of the curses. And then go back among the Gentiles. Will he go among the Gentiles, the Hellenized? Will he go amongst the Hellenized Israelites and teach them? So here, let me go. Where was I gonna go? Matter of fact, let me see here. Let me start here. This is Hosea chapter 1. This is Hosea chapter 1 and verse 6. And she conceived again and bare a daughter. And the Most High said unto him, Call her name Lo-Ruhamah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. So let me see here. Part of the curses was right here, Leviticus chapter 26, verse 33. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. So Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai said he would scatter us. It's part of the curses. And Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai shall scatter you, Deuteronomy 4 and 27. And Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai will lead you. So even it's all over the scriptures. Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai telling the Israelites he's going to scatter us. So the diaspora. But continuing. So the northern kingdom, they were taken away first into the Assyrian captivity, and then they left the Assyrian captivity and came over to the Americas. So they're already gone. They're already scattered. And then in the Babylonian captivity for the southern kingdom, guess what? They got scattered too, because they had the Babylonians and were in captivity under the Greeks and then the Romans. And each one of those captivities, they got more and more scattered. Verse Hosea 1 and verse 7, but I will have mercy upon the house of Judah and will save them by Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, their power, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battles, nor by horses, nor by horsemen. So Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai did have mercy on Judah, because he kept them there. Them certain non-Hellenized Jews. Now when she had weaned Lo-Ruhamah, she conceived and bare a son. Then said Power, Call his name Lo-Ami, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your power. So the Israelites, they were cut off. The northern kingdom, they were cut off. The same thing with the southern kingdom. Those that consented, those that got Hellenized, they were cut off. They became another nation. They became other uncircumcised. They became Greeks. They became Gentiles. They became whatever nation they got scattered to. Romans, Lydians, Spartans. Where else? Scattered to Ephesus, becoming Ephesians, Colossians. Wherever they've been scattered to, and then they were calling themselves by those names, which is why you had the books that were written to those different cities. Those were to Israelites that were scattered amongst those heathen in those cities. Hosea 1 and verse 10, Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living power. So then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together and appoint themselves one head, that's Yahushai. So we're getting gathered together by this word. The word went out back then, and now it's going out again via the internet. And it's gathering both the tribes, both the southern and northern kingdoms together, all the tribes together. and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. So back, let me read this real quick. This is Luke chapter 1 and verse 68. Blessed be the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, power of Israel, for he have visited and redeemed his people. And who's this people? The Israelites. It says the God of Israel, his people. The Israelites are his people. So back to this. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 2. Ye know that ye were Gentiles. And this word for Gentiles, it's not going to say a Helen, but this is ethnos. G1484, ethnos, says a multitude of individuals of the same nature or genus, meaning they're going back to the same father, a tribe, nation, people group. So this is you became Gentiles, but you're going back to the Israelites. You're really an Israelite. Why? Because you made yourself uncircumcised. You followed after the customs of the heathen. You were Hellenized. You know, the same thing today. Hey, guess what? You're Americanized. You're carried away onto these dumb idols because all the idols of the nation, hey, they're just wood and stone. They're nothing. They can't breathe. They can't do anything. Even as you were led. So this is Baruch and Slaki. This is, Lord willing, this is edifying and making sense. But this is Baruch chapter 4 and verse 6. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai to wrath, you were delivered unto the enemies. So guess what? We were sold to the nations. And we end up being different nations, being Gentiles, being heathen, completely losing our heritage, even going into slavery like today. But it's because we moved the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai to wrath through our own actions. It's telling us why. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to the Most High. Ye have forgotten the everlasting power that have brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. So we sacrificed unto the devils, we committed spiritual adultery. Guess what? Part of the curses, it would be scattered. We lose our heritage. We become another people. We wouldn't follow the laws, statutes, and commandments anymore. We'd be completely cut off. This is Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. So if we were in the times past, Gentiles in the flesh, what is that word? Ethnos again. We're of another nation. Like it said in Hosea 1, ye are not my people. We're no longer the people of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. He cut us off. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called circumcision in the flesh made by hands. And that's the unhellenized Jews. That was the circumcision. They kept the law, statutes, and commandments, which they couldn't keep them either, but they were keeping them for the most part. They were keeping them. That at that time you were without Hamashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. So let's look here. Aliens. It says G526. Apollo Trio says to estrange away, to alienate, to estrange, to be shut out from one's fellowship and intimacy. So like Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai said, you are not my people. So you're alienated from the commonwealth. This is G4174, Politia, from the administration of civil affairs, the state or commonwealth, to citizenship. So your citizenship, all that's been revoked. You're no longer an Israelite. You are a heathen. You are a Greek. You have been Hellenized. You're alienated. You're a stranger now. You're following after the other customs. You're following their gods. You're speaking their language. You're wearing their clothing. You're shaving your head. You're uncircumcised. How can you say you're an Israelite? So that at that time you were without Hamashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of his promise, having no hope, and without the Most High in the world. So hey, you had no hope. You were cut off. You couldn't do any of the sacrifices. You couldn't go into the high holy days. Hey, in the scriptures, in the law, it says you got to appear before the Lord 3 times a year. You couldn't do the Passover. All that stuff. Hey, you're cut off. But now in Hamashiach, Yahushai, ye who were sometimes were afar off are made nigh by the blood of Hamashiach. So, because Yahushai, he came and he died for his people. This is Matthew chapter 1 and verse 23. No. It should be 1 and 21. This is Matthew chapter 1 and verse 21. And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahushai, for he shall save his people from their sins. So Yahushai came to save us. He came to save us with his blood from our own sins. Came to save us from ourselves. Came to save us, to bring us back. This is John chapter 11. And I'll start at verse 49. And one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, Ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. So Yahushua, he came for the entire nation. And Isaiah says, through his stripes we are healed. And this he spake not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahushua should die for that nation, and not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of the Most High that were scattered abroad. So we've been scattered, and it's not only for the Jews, but all the children of Israel that have been scattered. We've been scattered all over the world into all the nations. What is that? DS Corpizo, G1287. To scattered abroad, to disperse. Hey, we've been scattered. To gather us all. So let's look. One is on my mind. Let's see here with this. This is Acts chapter 5 and verse 30. The power of our fathers, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, raised up Yahushai, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree. Him hath the Most High exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a savior. So this is Yahushai. He raised up Yahushai to be a ruler and a savior. That's his name. He saves. He delivers, to give repentance to Israel and forgiveness of sins. So this ain't for all the other nations. This ain't for all the Gentiles, how the Christians like to think, oh, it's everybody, the entire world. No, this is for the Israelites that have been scattered all throughout the world, who are living like the heathen, who have been Hellenized, who have been Greekized, or however you want to say it, who have been Americanized, for us to return. This is let me see if I'm pretty much done with that. This is 1 Peter chapter 1, and I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this in the NIV. This is 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 1 in the NIV. Peter, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach, to God's elect, or the Most High Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai's elect, which is his chosen. Exiles scattered throughout the provinces of Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. So Exiles scattered, the diaspora. You know, how can you be scattered to a place that you were never, from a place that you were never part of? These were Israelites that were scattered into these different places. So the exiles scattered throughout the provinces of Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. So Israelites that have been scattered in all these different regions, which the Israelites have been scattered all throughout the world. So from there, let's go to James 1:1. And I'm going to read this in the AMP, or the Amplified Bible. James, a bondservant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushua Hamashiach, to the 12, says Hebrew tribes. So the 12 Hebrew tribes, who is that? The 12 tribes of Israel, scattered, and it says in brackets, scattered abroad among the Gentiles. So the 12 tribes scattered abroad amongst the Gentiles, amongst the heathens that have been Hellenized, in the dispersion, greetings, rejoice. So this is who the scriptures are to the Israelites. And now today we've been scattered. We've been scattered even further than at that time. Because at this time, we're waking up to the truth. We didn't even know that we're Israelites. At this point in time, when this was written, they still had the Israelites that still knew that they were Israelites, that still knew the customs. As a matter of fact, this is Yahushai's brother. But continuing on, I think I might have read everything. So that's pretty much it for the lesson. And I'm just going to read this to close out again. This is John chapter 7 and verse 35. Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? So will he go amongst the dispersed, to the Israelites that have been scattered, and go teach them? Where is the other? Oh yeah. I mean, but that's pretty much it. That's all the precepts that I had. You know, and Lord willing, this is edifying. I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of you like, hey, Shalom.